Good morning and welcome.
Let's go down south a bit farther. What about Tampa? We talked to John Anapasis yesterday. He's
That is sights and sounds, a little bit of sounds anyway. Again, from the storm, the hurricane that really ravaged the southeast, and several people have lost their lives. It is absolute an absolute disaster. Welcome to Let It Be Known. We have several things this morning. Phew, I tell you, what a weekend. Another weekend gone by. Weekends go by too quick, right? I see like by Wednesday, everyone is like hump day, and then Thursday, day before Friday, everyone's happy. We get in there. Friday comes and it's celebration time. And before you know it, here we are, Monday morning. And it is actually the last day of September. Flying. Time is flying by real quick. Last day of September, and that means closer and closer to this election. Um, and several things this morning, including information about the election. Nearly 10% of voters in North Carolina have been purged from the voting rolls, even as the Department of Justice is suing Alabama for doing the same. So it's pretty clear that MAGA doesn't expect to win, they expect to steal the election. We'll tell you where you can check your voter registration status. Also, according to the Alzheimer's Association, while older Black Americans are twice as likely as older whites to have Alzheimer's or another dementia, research hasn't yet identified the cause. The organization that's given the latest report says that among Black Americans ages 70 and older, 21.3% are living with Alzheimer's, a type of dementia that affects memory, thinking, and behavior. We'll talk more about that as well. And an interesting phenomenon now, and maybe you've heard me say this before, I'm not a science person, never been into science, but the Earth now has, at least temporarily, a mini moon, and we'll have it for the next 2 months. Tell you more about that. Some lopsided history, some wayward history was made in Major League Baseball over the weekend. The Chicago White Sox have broken an age old record, and we'll tell you about that as well. But moving to the election, a couple of things before we even get to uh, the voting situation where voters have been purged from the roll over the weekend. A couple of interesting things happened, I thought, and I see southbound 3000 JSU in the building, the I love. So, you remember, and maybe many remember not long ago, JD Vance went into a restaurant and was not recognized and was really trying hard for the store person, the person behind the counter to recognize him. And it was very painfully obvious that she didn't care to know who JD Vance was. Well, the Trump team is in Pennsylvania campaigning, and JD Vance went to a restaurant to try and greet folks. Primanti Brothers is the name of the restaurant in North Versailles, Pennsylvania. And the restaurant workers met him at the door and said, "Nope, you're not bringing that stuff here." He says, "Well, I'm JD Vance. I'm running for vice president outside." So he was forced to greet people outside. And there were some who greeted him, others who simply walked past him, and others who, of course, posted along on social media and made fun of him. I mean, these guys, you talk about it's like he and Trump are like Abbott and Costello. They are just, oh my gosh. And speaking of the Orange Man, um, he went on one of his trademark rants over the weekend too in Pennsylvania. I mean, he railed on about um, being impeached and prosecuted, and he trashed Vice President Harris, the media as well, for what he called the crimes of the century against him. Um, but here's the thing, and once again, for those who so proudly support this guy, saying lesser of two evils or whatever. Here's the thing. A part of his rant, he said that he wants police, just every police force in the country, local, municipal, state, federal, to have at least one day. Yeah, listen carefully, folks and brown folks. At least one day in which they just unleash terror on everybody. He says one violent day is needed from every sworn officer in the country to just unleash on folks. And just think about that for one split second, including those, like I said, who want to. Listen, I was I was talking to someone that I'm extremely close with, um, who who gave me that extraordinarily uninformed line that, "Well, yeah, Trump is a businessman," and I said, "Yeah, he's supposed to be a businessman, right?" "Oh, yeah, that's why we like him. He's a businessman, and he don't care." Right. You're 100% right. 13 bankruptcies, and he don't care about anybody. Oh, he gave the stimulus. That whole stimulus thing came up again. And as much as I hate getting involved in these conversations, as a news person, as a journalist, you just want people to have facts. And I said, my man, he was against, look it up, 1,000% against the stimulus checks. 1,000% of giving stimulus. In fact, I just remember Sheila Jackson Lee and Barbara Lee and others, and if I'm not mistaken, including then Senator Kamala Harris, wanting to have monthly payments of about $5,000 to Americans, not the one-time $1,200 stimmy that certain folks seem so smitten with. And Trump was one. He rallied his MAGA base, his Republicans, and they fought long and hard against that. And the compromise was 1,200 bucks for some. Some got 600, and it was a one-time thing. I think they rolled it out one more times, second round, which folks got 600 or $1,200, whereas uh, the Congressional Black Caucus, in particular, wanted monthly payments of as much as $5,000 a month. The ORNG says Trump is literally having a meltdown every weekend during his rallies. The rants are getting worse. They are getting worse. I mean, this one over the weekend where he again, this is law enforcement. He wants every sworn law in the country.
They didn't want to go over the $950. They're standing with calculators, adding it up. You know, these are smart people. They're not so stupid, but they have to be taught. Now, if you had one really violent day, like a guy like Mike Kelly, put him in charge, Congressman Kelly, put him in charge for one day. Mike, would you say, he's right here, he's a great congressman. Would you say, Mike, that if you were in charge, you would say, oh, please don't touch them. Don't touch them. Let them rob your store. Let all these stores go out of business, right? They don't pay rent. The city doesn't have money. It's a chain of events. It's so bad. One rough hour, and I mean real rough, the word will get out and it will end immediately. End immediately. You know, it'll end immediately. They didn't want to go over the 900.
Rich. What's rich is this is somebody and so who's been convicted 34 times, and it goes back to the conversation I had with this, like I said, this individual who I'm very, very close with. And then he realized some things. Um, and he goes, this was hilarious to me, Power 96. The, my man says, well, you know what a thing I appreciate about him is, he's got 34 convictions. I got 5, and he's going to be president. Dr. Nicole, you know who I'm talking about. Pam, you know who I'm talking about. He said, um, that's impressive. He's standing on business. No, he's standing on criminality. 34 convictions. He said he got 34 convictions. I got 5. So, and where's that 5 taking you, black man? It's taking it's taking you at best to sweeping somebody's floor, and this guy might be president. Just think about that. He said, "Wait, what?" Yeah, I'm telling you, Power 96, my man told me he had 5 convictions, and he was impressed with Donald Trump's 34 because what makes Donald Trump's and 34 convictions impressive is that he is, uh, running for president. It's impressively, egregious in the American justice system and the American system of politics that a 34 times convicted felon can be president when uh he can't even vote. He can't even own guns. He can't travel to certain foreign countries with those convictions. That's the thing that you should be concerned about. Mike V says he's violent as a solution to everything, but wants us to come together as a country. He doesn't want you to come together as a country. This guy has done nothing except divide. As far as the individual with the 5 convictions, you're right. A black individual with 5 Trump wouldn't hire him to sweep the floor at Mar-a-Lago. So this idea, folks, I mean, he keeps, that's why you gotta refuse to believe polls like Howard University and others who continue to tell you what black men are doing, or whatever. Lauren Burke, I think she broke it down nicely when she was on last week. But you can't. How do you? How do you? And I know they keep putting these people on social media, popping up about their support. But how is it that possible? How is that possible? You know that whole hour of violence from police. You know who's that's directed at. That's not a dog whistle. That's a flat out telling you. Black and brown people, we wanna he Trump is saying, "I want to annihilate you." And so some may feel, "Oh, well, we're friends." Janet Jackson's a asinine comment. Randy Jackson, her brother, who many believe was behind the comment, um, is, you know, one in blackface. And it's a shame. I see, Charlie Martin saying that the DOJ is corrupt. And, you know, the shame of that comment is that you've only heard it because the orange man has said it, because he's been on the other side, and he's been found guilty of 34 felonies. He's on he's if he loses the election, he's gonna be the other charges, the other 60 some odd, counts against him will come into play. The guy, um, has sex with an adult film star while his wife is pregnant, defrauds New York out of a couple $100 million, and unlike black and brown folks, who have 34 felonies and 60 more charges and defrauding, he won't see a day in jail. So y'all wanna continue to say y'all relate to him? And you might, as we learned last week, and, as Greer is saying, New York is not gonna hold him accountable. That was, you know, a lot of pomp and circumstance, and when you got, Republican appointed judges who are saying, "Hey, we're just not going to, um, hold him to that half $500 million." We talked about Michael Jackson not long ago. They held him to that half $500 million. His estate paid up, and good for them now that they 3,000,000 in the good, 3,000,000,000 in the good, I should say. But why not hold Trump to the half a billion? And again, it's you know, if the shoe was on the other foot, and we are in no way saying that the other side is perfect, but just the other side is also not ranting about sicking police on black and brown people every day. The other side is not telling you still to this day that the Central Park 5, the exonerated 5 should be executed. The other side did not put Marcellus Williams to death, an innocent black man, last week. Even as the victim's family, let's set aside the prosecution and all of these lawmakers and the jury saying, "No, he is innocent." And the victim's family standing up for Marcellus Williams. Yet the Republican governor of Missouri and that joke of a Supreme Court puts this man to death. Thank you. Yeah, I definitely needed this right here. So when y'all want to go out there and tout this guy, just think about all that. You should always be informed. You should always be informed. A lot of black folks didn't like the prosecutions of Kamala Harris when she was district attorney and attorney general. And so I get it. So again, if you want to go to the lesser of two evils, just weigh it. And one of the things I saw, speaking of the whole, just to wrap the Michael Jackson part up, I saw when they was trying to defend, when some were defending Janet's uh, untruths, the lie about Kamala Harris and her father. When some were defending her on that, they played a clip that I'm not sure, I don't, 'cause I don't remember it. So I'm not sure if it's absolutely true that Kamala Harris, um, when Michael Jackson was on trial, she made some comments to the effect of him being guilty, I guess. But does that here the bottom line is Michael was acquitted in California. He was acquitted. But does that mean it's okay, you get a pass to tell your millions of followers that tell them lies, repeat lies you heard. I mean, that's just look. Some of the charges, some people argue, and I don't totally disagree. Perhaps a couple of the 90 charges against Trump, maybe it was overcharged. Everybody gets overcharged. Welcome to the real world. Black and brown man and woman go into a convenience store and steal a bubble gum. I guarantee you that there will be some additional charges. Guarantee you. Mike V is asking, have I had a chance to watch Greg Palast documentary Vigilante Inc. that just came out this weekend? No, I haven't. It's an eye opener and tells us what their next move is in November, he says. So Greg Palast, Vigilante Inc. Mike V has recommended it. So we're gonna have to check it out. And so here's the other thing that they're doing to make sure to try to ensure. So to me, what you keep hearing to many people, let me take myself out of the equation. I shouldn't be in the equation. But to many people, uh, um, the orange man, as they call him, the former president, and his minions don't expect to win the election fair and square. In fact, they have plotted and they have put things in place in which they are now able to steal the election. And case in point, this is not rhetoric, this is not hyperbole. It's what's happening in Georgia, where they've now given the Secretary of State all these extra powers to halt the election. But in North Carolina, the State Board of Elections removed 747,000 people from its list of registered voters within the last 20 months. The State Board of Elections in the release said the majority of those stripped from the rolls were deemed ineligible to be registered because they had moved within the state and did not register their new address, or because they did not participate in the past two federal elections. Other reasons for removal included felony convictions. Isn't that something? Out of state moves and personal requests for removal, the board said. North Carolina is one of 7 swing states likely to decide the presidential election. And just think about it, there's only one Democrat this century, and that is Obama in 2008 won North Carolina. But the vice president, Kamala Harris, has been polling extremely well in that state, which is also home to uh, the contest between Attorney General Josh Stein, the Democrat, and that buffoon, as Barrington would say, but he would say it a lot worse, Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson. And asked to condemn or asked to comment on Mark Robinson's remarks, most recent remarks anyway. Trump and his crowd decided to boot a question and refused to answer it. Meanwhile, the U.S. Department of Justice filed a lawsuit on Friday against Alabama and its top election officials, accusing the state of illegally purging people from voter rolls too close to the election. Federal officials said that the purge violates the quote quiet period provision of the National Voter Registration Act that prohibits the systemic, yeah, I said it right, removal of names from voter rolls 90 days before a federal election. Alabama's Republican Secretary of State Wes Allen had announced an initiative to remove non-citizens registered to vote in Alabama. See, they continue to push that narrative that we have talked about this, folks. Illegal immigrants are not voting. They're not. No matter what MAGA tells you, that doesn't happen, hasn't happened, and it will not happen. And again, I will tell you, and folks, where you grew up, I'm sure it's pretty much the same. But in New York, any immigrant, illegal or not, the one thing they made sure to do and make sure to do is fly under the radar, especially if they're illegal and they haven't gained status yet. Fly under the radar. The last thing they're going to do, the last thing is try and go register to vote. So this frenzy, and the thing about it, border crossings have been down, way down since Obama's um, presidency. Way down. In fact, um, when Donald Trump was in office, just think about this. When he was in office, crossings were higher than they were under Trump. They were higher than they are under Joe Biden. Think about that for a second. But all this misinformation, all the lies have you believe that there's this huge problem. And vulnerable, gullible people repeat it. And I noticed that those who repeat the lie that they're taking jobs, particularly so-called black jobs, those who repeat the lie are struggling with their own employment for their own issues. They may just not be a competent or good worker. Those who repeat that, they repeat that because they don't get real news. They sit in their barbershop or wherever in their clinic or their doctor's office and look at Fox News and and hear all of that disinformation and misinformation and lies. And so they see it on the screen. Oh, it must be true. Nothing can be further from the truth. That is fact. These people are not swarming across the board. They've already eating the dogs and the cats, the racist thing against Haitians have all been proven to be false. The Venezuelans taking over some apartment complex in Illinois was false. The New York Post runs these picture stories almost every day. Uh, apparently, appearing, I should say, to show some immigrant attacking an American citizen. Lies. It's not happening. It's not happening. But y'all want to fall for the okey doke. It's so funny too because generally, and I'm talking specifically to people of color in our neighborhoods. That was the thing, right? Never fall for the okey doke. That was our mantra, pretty much one of them. But when it comes to something like this, it's like somebody asked me yesterday, very innocuously, about why does it appear that the vice president is having a difficult time getting support of allegedly black men and even some black women. And because the person who asked me this question has no interest whatsoever in politics, none, zero, but was just curious. And I allowed that individual to answer the question for themselves. I did. I truly did. One of the most effective tools is to allow someone to just speak. And that individual said, the problem is A, she's a woman, and B, many people, including black and brown people, just hate the thought of a black woman in charge. And truth be told, the best boss you could have, if you're gonna have a boss, if you're gonna work for someone, black woman. That's a fact. Especially if you care about results. Particularly if you care about results. You know, you we have 200 some odd newspapers and media companies that comprise the net Black press of America. Most of them black women owned. Most of them. They've been around as a collective. The NMPA has been around about 90 years, 90 some odd years. Whereas the black press, again, the collective, is going on 200 years. You don't have that type of longevity without the massive input of black women. This is the bottom line. Fight yourself on that. But folks, you can check your voting status at these nonpartisan sites, vote.org and vote411.org. Vote.org and vote411.org. And you can go to the Can I Vote section from the National Association of Secretaries of State. That is a one-stop shop for voting resources. And if you select the voter registration status link on the main Can I Vote page and then choose the state where you live, you'll be sent to your official registration confirmation page to check your voter status. Because don't go there and get yourself arrested, because they will arrest you. We've seen those stories. The RNG says mainstream media pushes that false narrative about black men not supporting VP Harris. That narrative is out of hand. Well, because you tell a lie long enough without it being refuted, people will believe it and they will run with it and they will share that lie. They will share that lie. And now in some people's head, it becomes true. And it is something that mainstream media look at CNN and all of those with their MAGA CEOs. All their CEOs are MAGA. And you're seeing more and more of it. CNN actually is going to die soon. They're going to a paywall on their website next month. Nobody watches them anyway. How about you got Don Lemon, Greer? Don Lemon. What's up with Don Lemon? Don Lemon, what's the dude name at Fox that Trump loves him so much? The big guy. Oh gosh. Sean Hannity. Don Lemon was singing his praises the other day. He was putting Megyn Kelly down. I understand that. She's trash, straight trash. Um, but saying how great Hannity is. And Sean Hannity is the biggest purveyor of false information when it comes to Trump and the elections, and has stoked the flames and the fires of the racist rhetoric constantly. And yet, Don Lemon, what's wrong with these people? Power 96, what is wrong with them? It's just incredible to continue to see. And listen, Don Lemon knows better, knows how precarious his situation um, can be. He's got to fight several fronts. Being black and being in the LGBTQ plus community, and he wants to give some love to MAGA. Are you kidding me? You don't want to do that, Donnie. You don't want to do that. What drives these folks? Is it, I have a clue. As Orange G says, Don Lemon is a bowl of confusion. He claims New Orleans, but we don't claim him. But I have I think my theory is at least part right, and that is that there are some like Don Lemon who are hedging their bets, who are thinking, I need to be safe if MAGA wins. I need to ride that coattail. I really think. I mean, because you talking about ball of confusion. Look at the Van Jones, who swings from, with he goes with wherever the wind blows is Van Jones. I think that they believe that if they can somehow please the master, they won't be out in the cotton fields. That's the bottom line. They're trying to protect against being. They want to be in the big house in case things go left. That's the bottom line. That's my theory. And, not that she's black, but Amber Rose, see, I want to play that game. But Amber Rose is that personified. Allegedly, is in the sights of the prosecutors for some crypto scam. And what does she do? What does she do? She go full MAGA. He says Van Jones cries better than Viola Davis in every movie. Viola Davis got that. Oh, okay. That's horrible. Ah. According to the Alzheimer's Association, folks, this is really serious stuff. While older Black Americans are twice as likely as older whites to have Alzheimer's or another dementia, uh, they say we just don't know the cause. Um, Reportedly, among Black Americans ages 70 and older, 21.3% are living with Alzheimer's, which is, of course, a type of dementia that affects memory, thinking, and behavior. The Afro, check out the Afro. They did a nice report on this, and according to the Afro, they found that from experts, lifestyle and social indoctrination are the primary culprits driving these neurodegenerative disease, not aging. Aging is not a disease, according to Sharon Brangman, who is the chair of the Department of Geriatrics at Upstate Medical University in Syracuse, New York. Dr. Brangman spoke to the Afro and said it's a part of the natural process. Multitasking, often celebrated and exalted in the workplace, they say is a primary felon of brain decline. So you're able to multitask, you celebrate that. Well, they're saying that that's a problem. Just do one thing at a time. When you walk, don't chew that gum. Socially, multitasking is believed to be an aptitude that yields a lot of benefits. But research is now suggesting that it reduces, while it reduces procrastination, it increases uh, the likelihood of some sort of cognitive decline. We know why people in business favor multitasking because they believe that it saves time and reduces costs. Um, but medical research counters that. Brangman tells the Afro that mind juggling poses one of the greatest threats to cognitive brain health. She says there's a saying that multitasking makes you stupid. Your brain just can't do multiple things at the same time, and it becomes even more difficult as we get older. So the thing with Brinkman, this doctor that the Afro spoke to, she also serves as director of the of Excellence in Alzheimer's disease. And she goes on to say, your boss or someone you work or interact with thinks it's great if you can try to do multiple things at the same time. But our brains were made to do just one thing at a time, she said. She says, actually, if you try to multitask, you can slow down brain functions. And additionally, Black people are at a higher risk of suffering from other health issues. African Americans are disproportionately affected by high blood pressure, stroke, diabetes, and heart disease. Lack of sleep and stress also, according to the doctor, exacerbates a disease cycle too often caused by life choices and a lack of options tied to better health outcomes. Well, this curates the perfect environment for chronic illnesses and diseases, including dementia and Alzheimer's. Mike V says this would explain why Trump held the Bible upside down and focused so much on crowd sizes. Oh, Shanae's chiming in. She says, "How do we stop multitasking? I think my mind is wired that way." So Shanae and I were going to be sitting there, being taken care of by our kids, and they're going to be because we both going to be gone. Going to be gone because she multitasks like I do, and Greer's laughing at us. Shanae, she's laughing at us. She says it can't be her. Um, So there is emerging research that is now looking at how stress reactions to things like discrimination and racism affect brain function. And we know it does. As Greer says, she's losing her mind as we speak. You see what you people doing? See, Jalen says, I'm not a multitasker, but it runs in his family. Multitasking, again, we've all been taught that that's what you need to do, especially in the workplace. Y'all don't know. Sometimes I'm sitting here while I'm supposed to be bringing you some news and information. I'm up here writing stuff. Oh, so I've lost it a long time ago. And Mike V be putting up with me. I don't know, but then again, I put up with the RNG. Power 96 is a lot to put up with, y'all. He texted me over the weekend. He sent me a DM on Instagram. He was demanding certain things. And I said, if Power 96 demands something, we have to respond. So the 12 things I was doing at that time, I had to add the 13th thing and replying to Power 96. Because he's the type with all that money under his mattress, charging his kids excess interest on student loans, that he will get to you. So we can't ignore the man. He is not to be ignored. But over time, stress keeps Black people on high alert. Stress keeps everybody on high alert, right? It does. It really does. We are the most stressed out nation. We did a story about that too. We are the most stressed out nation. Period. Black, white, it doesn't matter. We all stressed. We all stressed. We all like Melania going into Mar-a-Lago every day. Stressed. Mike B says crawfish and scotch is a solution. Now that sounds half me and half Power 96. You can't have half of me and half of Power 96. You can't put us together like that. And look, David chimes in all late. Good morning. We're about to go off the air. David Youngblood is chiming in. What's up with that, David? You and I need to have a sit down. He says, "Good morning." It's 8:20, David. Where you been? We got this conversation going about stress, and you coming in stressing us out late. I used to have a teacher back in elementary school, sixth grade. You try to sneak into the class if you're late, and he catches you all the time, and he makes you go in front of the class and address the class. Good morning, class. And then you have to state why you're late. And so we made sure not to be late. David says, "I'm sorry, I'm late." Do you have a note, David? That's the real question. Do you have a note? Let it be known we got to be on time. Power 96 says, "I hit my garage door with my truck this morning. I'm about to get paid." You hit your door with your garage, uh, tr- your truck. I hit my garage door with my truck. How are you about to get paid? I tell you, that guy is complicated. He's like Shaft. He's a complicated man. Uh-oh, here's Mr. Durrett chiming in. So he says, if I take my soon-to-be wife out to dinner and the bill is high, how can I deal with that stress? Nope, 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 no. Mm-mm. That is not stress, Mr. Durrett. That is not stress at all. You're supposed to take your wife out, your soon-to-be wife, especially soon-to-be. Now, once she becomes your wife, maybe a diner will do. But um Capital Grill right now, Sullivan Steakhouse or something like that. Well, and so you got to prepare for it. Seller First Class, you got to prepare for that stuff, Mr. Durrett. You cannot be taking Dr. Nicole to the diner right now. Save that for after marriage. You can't do that. Wait a minute. Greer from the top rope. Um, uh-oh, wait a minute. Before I get to Greer, uh Power 96 has sent me a picture that the insurance company is on the way. That guy, I'm telling you, I'm coming down there. I gotta hang with this guy. But Aunt Pam says, did you say a diner will do? Well, I'm just saying, Aunt Pam, that Mr. Durrett is trying to cheap out over here and blame it on stress. And I don't, I don't believe him right now. I don't believe he's stressed right now. I really don't. But wait a minute. When we talk about stress, here's Greer from the top rope. She, she says, and y'all know who she's talking about. If you don't know who she's talking about, then you've been living under a rock. She says stress is offering $50 million for your freedom and finding out it's still not enough. No diddy, no doubt. Wow. Oh my God. Y'all are wrong this morning. It's Monday. And Aunt Pam wanted to know about this diner thing is really taking me out. She's like, what type of diner did Shanae visit? That's like, they know that ain't happening. Uh, and good morning to William Smothers from Speaking Out News in Huntsville, Alabama. It's always good to have a owner, a publisher a black owned and operated news organization, the Huntsville, Alabama's Speaking Out News. So thanks for joining us, Mr. Smothers. And David wants us to know, by the way, the dog ate his note, so we won't be getting a note on to why he's late. Pam says, "Don't start what you can't finish," as your grandmother would say. My grandmother would say that too. She ain't play. I bet you wasn't taking my grandmother to a diner. I bet my grandfather didn't have the audacity to say to my grandmother, "Oh, I'm taking you to Burger King." She My grandmother was not playing that. She got dressed up. She put her red dress on and what that song say, "Put on your red dress." Put her hat on, her church hat on. She was not playing. Put them shoes on and then put her pocket knife in her pocketbook in case you want to step out of line. That's my grandmother for you. She did not play. Um, for you science buffs, Earth's moon now has some company, a mini moon. The mini moon is actually an asteroid about the size of a school bus at 33 feet 10 meters. When it whizzed by Earth yesterday, it was temporarily trapped by our planet's gravity and orbit the globe, but only for about 2 months it's going to be happening. That's 2 months. That's long enough, right? Um, it was first spotted in August by astronomers at Complutense University of Madrid. They used this powerful telescope that's located in Sutherland, South Africa. So these short-lived mini moons are likely more common than we realize, according to some experts. The last known was detected 4 years ago, and at MIT, Richard Benzel, who's an astronomer there, says this happens with some frequency, but we rarely see them because they are very small and very hard to detect. Only recently has our survey capability reached the point of spotting them routinely. So this small little moon is going to accompany the bigger moon, I guess, for a couple of months until November 25th. That's when it's supposed to part ways with the Earth and continue its solo trajectory through the cosmos. And the next time that is expected to happen, folks, so if you don't catch it this time over the next 2 months, it's not going to happen until 2055. 2055. Wow. So some history was made over the weekend in Major League Baseball. Baseball has been interesting recently. Before I get to the history that was made, um, a couple of weird things happened. The San Diego Padres clinched a spot in the playoffs on the most on a play that is generally it's a very rare play. Around the horn triple play. They were playing the Los Angeles Dodgers. Dodgers had first and second, nobody out. It was the bottom of the ninth inning. Dodgers are ready to rally. Ground ball to third. Third baseman steps on third, throws to second, and then second baseman hurls it to first. Triple play ended the game and propelled the Padres into the postseason. Um, because of the hurricanes um, or the storm, Helene, the New York Mets and the Atlanta Braves had 2 games in Atlanta washed out last Wednesday and Thursday. And so over the weekend, the Mets and Braves, Mets in Milwaukee, Braves played Kansas City, both lost 2 out of 3 games, meaning that they have a tie for the last spot for the last 2 spots in the Major League Baseball playoffs. It's actually 3 teams now that are tied, including the Arizona Diamondbacks. I know it's kind of complicated. The Diamondbacks, though, they have more wins. They also have more losses than the Mets and Braves, who have to play a double header today to determine. So if the Mets win one and the Braves win one of those games today, then they both go to the playoffs. If one of the teams wins both games, say the Braves win both games, the Mets are out. If the Mets win both games, the Braves are out, and Arizona gets in along with the team that wins the 2 games. But the history that was made was the Chicago White Sox surpassed the impossibly terrible 1962 New York Mets by losing their 121st game of the season. Expectations for the team were at rock bottom going into the season, but no one could have imagined that the White Sox would be this bad. They had won 3 games in a row for the first time all year to try and stave off that record-setting 121st loss, but then finally they lost to the Detroit Tigers and have 121 wins. That means they only have 40 wins on the season. They play a 162 game season, and to win just 40 games is astronomically bad. I mean, this is horrible. Some of the yeah, so throughout the season, At White Sox games, there in Chicago, I mean, the stadiums hold about 50,000 people. Probably was like 500 people going to games. So that means like only family members of the players was going to the games. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. But 121 losses for the White Sox. And let me give you some funny history. So in 1899, so we're not talking modern day, the Cleveland Spiders lost 134 games in a 154 game season. You know who was playing third base for the Cleveland Spiders? And I hope Charlie Martin is still watching because he's going to appreciate this more than anybody. The guy who was playing third base for the Cleveland Spiders, who lost 134 games, was a guy by the name of Joe Biden. Now, some will argue that it's the same Joe Biden that's president today. So Joe Biden in 1899 was playing third base for the Cleveland Spiders when they lost 134 games. Folks, that's some sort of political history you're not going to get anywhere else except on Let It Be Known. So join us again tomorrow for another edition of Let It Be Known. Thanks for watching. We'll see you then.